Damnation Alley is a 1977 release from 20th Century Fox. They had real hopes for it. They thought this was going to be a big hit. And then there was this other Fox movie that was basically a kids movie that they didn't have much hope for. It's called Star Wars. It's kind of like a junky, fun sci-fi movie from the 70s. You should see it if you enjoy these kind of mindless 70s science fiction adventures. It has a good score by Jerry Goldsmith, and it keeps one damn thing after another just keeps happening. I would recommend it if you like these kind of nostalgic 70s string of science fiction movies that Hollywood cranked out, like Logan's Run. It's an adaptation of a book by Roger Zelazny, which was an expansion of a novella of his. The movie just steps on and crushes the spine of the book. Then it scrapes it off the ground and shoves it into a blast furnace. It is about a guy named Hell Tanner. Hell Tanner is not a nice guy. The movie's Jake Tanner is a freaking lieutenant in the Air Force and is about as threatening as a surfer. Jan Michael Vincent was treated as an up-and-coming Brad Pitt of the 70s, but he was actually the Eric Roberts of the 70s and 80s. George Papard was the Jan Michael Vincent of the 60s and 70s. The adaptation was done by the guy who wrote Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and The Dirty Dozen. Roger Zelazny was happy with this script. Everyone was so happy with it that of course they rushed to have it rewritten. Huge sections of the script were hacked out. Hell Tanner was a great character for a 60s science fiction novel by one of the best of the new science fiction writers of the era. Isaac Asimov, for example, wasn't writing books starring Hell's Angels. The character enlivens the usual post-war America is a desert setting. So what did the movie makers do with this book they paid for? They dumped the main character. They turn the hero into a flat military rebel who we watch as he learns to care about life again. They added a surly authority figure and a kid and a woman. None of those characters are in the book. Then they didn't bother having any of the characters do anything that impacts the story. And instead of a ride to bring a vaccine to Boston, they're all going east because there are other people there. The Landmaster, the Boba Fett of science fiction vehicles. What's the fascination with two shoeboxes taped together with a really useless tri-tire setup that just rotates randomly with no apparent point? Sure, it doesn't help but let it endure windstorms and is useless in water. The Landmaster, the Dimension 360 of tanks. I like the way they depicted World War III. Someone just announces each city being hit by nuclear missiles. Just calmly. They should have just let that play out. Just watch the screen. Instead, they insert about 5 minutes of stock footage, which this is early in the movie and we're already being pulled out of it. There's a great shot of darkness. Then a burned out planet Earth emerges from the void while Jerry Goldsmith's score pulses. It's the best thing about the movie, this one shot. It's really well done. Director Jack Smite ruined the movie of Ray Bradbury's The Illustrated Man by trying to bring the fantastic elements down to earth. Why would you want to wash out the fantasy elements of a Ray Bradbury story? Dominique Sanda, who was good in The Conformist, is just annoying as a woman who's living in the deserted circus. She spends the rest of the movie just hanging around. Science fiction was so unfun in this period. Once they finished putting the movie together, they had this brilliant idea of making all the sky shots look weird. Now imagine the movie without that, and you can kind of see that they were desperate for something. So they spent a year matting in shots of laser effects. We end up with a movie that's like an hour and 15 minutes of sky looking like a Pink Floyd concert. Climate change catches up to them. Lots of water from the local ocean pursues them, and they end up tumbling around, and we watch a cute little model bobbing in somebody's bathtub. They must have wanted a kind of disaster movie ending, thinking people were still into those in 1977. Sound 360 was this new innovation to try to impress people after Dolby Stereo and Star Wars blew everybody through the theater. It's for people who weren't underwhelmed by Sensurround. They encounter some amazing sights like regular-sized scorpions standing in for giant mutant scorpions. The black guy dies first, of course, this being from the pre-Alien era. And Paul Winfield's the only member of this bunch with a personality, so at least he goes out with dignity. He gets eaten alive by cockroaches. Whee! Jerry Goldsmith's final cue tries to get some emotion into this thing, and it works so well. They just repeat the cue over the credits. So, Damnation Alley. It's no classic. It's not bad. Damnation Alley. It's no classic, but it's based on a really good novella.